My name is Hue Karreman. I'm a large animal veterinarian, and I've worked with dairy cattle since 1995. Most of my professional life has been centered around using functional alternatives to antibiotics and hormones on dairy farms. I'm a USDA accredited Category 2 veterinarian, so I'm available for emergency service if that's needed, and also I sign interstate shipping papers. My expertise is in the non-antibiotic treatment of infectious disease. I'm a charter fellow of the American College of Veterinary Botanical Medicine, and I'm licensed in North Carolina. That's where I live. And I'm a member in good standing with the AVMA and the American Association of Bovine Practitioners. I'm also a dairy farmer, and with my wife Suzanne and I, pardon me, we milk 60 Jersey cows on our pasture-based farm near Chapel Hill. We're inspected, we're licensed. We send our milk to a small cheese maker nearby. We also have a herd share program where people pay us to own a small percent of the animals that we take care of, we bed, we feed, we milk, and in return they get a dividend, so to speak, of milk that they own the cow, they get some milk for their buying into the herd. We also, prior to COVID, we sold pet milk for 3 years. We voluntarily tested our milk every 2 weeks at a national chain of food safety labs called EMSL, and never not once did we have Listeria, Campylobacter, Salmonella, E. coli 01H57. Herd shares and pet milk are both legal in the state of North Carolina by statute. Pet milk since 2003 and herd shares since 2018. We're members of the Farm Bureau, and our product liability with the Farm Bureau is covered, and our product is raw milk. I was recently made aware of House Bill 467. Find it quite interesting because actually a lot of its standards in it reflect the standards that were in place for what's called certified milk. Certified milk back in the first half of the 20th century was essentially medicinal milk that human doctors actually promoted for infants and pediatric use for nutrition and its benefits. And certified milk was raw milk. And doctors actually examined farmers and personnel back then. Veterinarians tested the cows. The equipment on the farms were of the highest caliber of the first half of the 20th century. And in fact, the grade A inspection system, which we have now, is based specifically on specific rules in the certified milk standards. And it's interesting that HB 467's proposed standards are essentially taken from the grade A inspection system. Perhaps unknowingly but presciently, this bill completes a loop that started long ago to produce the highest quality, wholesome, and nutritious pure raw milk possible.
Dr. Karreman, if you would please excuse me,
yes,
I really need to make an announcement. The Speaker of the House just walked into the back of the room, and he has some special guests that I really need to make an announcement for.
Of course.
It's Mr. Mark Caswell. I understand you're a judge. Is that correct?
Well, his dad is.
His dad is. Oh, hi, Mark. We would just want to welcome you to the Agriculture Committee. Mark, thank you for coming by, and thank all of you for being here, and welcome to the Ag Committee. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Karreman, we're going to get through this testimony. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So unknowingly, this bill actually has the highest standards. When I read it, I couldn't believe it. It was like, oh my gosh, this is like certified milk all over again. And it just produces really high quality raw milk, and anything less requires pasteurization. To be sure, modern dairy farming has really come a long way in 100 years, and Representative Coates has gone through the elimination of dairy, unfortunately, in the state and many states, but the actual practice of dairy farming and the hygiene that goes with it has just exponentially increased over time. Cows ate lots of fresh grass back then, but pasteurization of milk was needed because of cows that were actually in the cities housed in barns and not kept in very clean conditions. Those dairies are long gone, and the modern professional dairy farmer of 2024 is inspected under the grade A inspection system that has many identical standards to certified milk. Raw milk produced in the certified milk standards, as in House Bill 467, actually has modern research to back it up. In a 2011 study, the protective effects of raw cow's milk on infections were comparable to those of breastfeeding, and that early life consumption of raw cow's milk reduced the risk of manifest respiratory infections and fever by about 30%. And in a 2015 study, the public health impact of minimally processed but pathogen-free milk might be enormous, given the high prevalence of respiratory infections in the first year of life and the associated direct and indirect costs. And all you have to do is think about COVID and all the respiratory problems then, and how perhaps raw milk and its components in it could have helped. It's not rocket science to say that raw, unpasteurized milk is basic to mammalian biology. All mammals drink unpasteurized milk when young and suckling the mother. Its constituents are easily recognized by the digestive tract, whereas pasteurized milk proteins become denatured and appear foreign to the digestive tract and often cause really unwelcome digestive upset. Cats and dogs fed raw milk do not get diarrhea like those animals that get pasteurized milk in the same quantities. Pocket pets like hamsters, gerbils, mice, and rats have rougher hair coats because the vitamin B in pasteurized milk is denatured compared to unpasteurized milk. Goat milk is an excellent source of vitamin A, which is very important for good vision. Vitamin A is denatured by pasteurization. Compared to other dairy products, butter has a superior nutrient profile rich in vitamins and minerals, and in an Auburn study in 1948, high vitamin A content of milk and butter, so important the human diet, can be maintained throughout the year by green grazing crops for dairy cows. Raw unpasteurized butter would be best, as the proteins and fat in it are not damaged by the pasteurization heating process. Again, I applaud the writers of House Bill 467, as it closely reflects milk produced for medicinal use as certified milk. Moreover, its added protections for monitoring cow health, and therefore the milk that is produced, and super importantly, the protection of how it is handled, enhances its nutritional value substantially. Heat treatment of milk pasteurization denatures many proteins. Milk's been consumed for thousands and thousands of years by people, by all mammals. In so many ways, milk in its natural form is the most basic ingredient in a mammal's diet. That's what makes us mammals, milk. Essentially, at the start of life. Raw milk is not pure poison, as the CDC and FDA make it out to be. If it was, none of us would be sitting here. All foods have some inherent risk, like the oysters that were mentioned, and to single out one food is simply not right nor true, especially when considering that alcohol and tobacco are legally sold every day. Under the current statute, a producer must pasteurize their milk before they can sell it to a consumer, and that would cost, if you look at some of the catalogs and all, about $250,000 to set that up. With commodity pricing the way it is, as Representative Coates said, the farmer doesn't have any say in what they get for their milk. Commodity pricing just would not allow that to happen unless you take out some big debt. Adopting House Bill 467 with its very high standards of producing raw milk and the healthy immunity that it promotes will be good news for many citizens here in Louisiana that want access to raw milk either for themselves or for their pets. Right now, only a handful of states don't allow some form of sale of raw milk. Please don't let Louisiana be one of the last. It's also worth remembering a mammal's closest connection to its original source of life, its mother, is through raw milk, suckled or freely drank. Clean, well-kept, tested cows and goats milked by professional dairy farmers, and hygienic standards produce healthy milk. Being both a veterinarian and a dairy farmer, I can honestly say that all animals I've known, cats, dogs, horses, cows, sheep, pigs, everything, have all thrived on raw milk. I've been drinking raw milk for decades, and I've had 2 open heart surgeries in the last 14 years due to congenital heart condition, and I work like a horse as a dairy farmer. And I drink raw milk all day long, ice cold raw milk. And finally, actually, in closing, I just want to say that in the land of milk and honey, as written in many places in Scripture, milk and honey were prized foods. They were highly nutritious, high-energy foods used by those who camped in the wilderness and as articles of trade, and as contributions to the Levite priests and worthy gifts. And that milk was not pasteurized. And that's the kind of milk that House Bill 467 is proposing to make available to the citizens here in Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karreman. There is a question from Representative Bryant. You have your button pushed. Is that to make the motion? Representative Bryant. Thank you. Representative Amity has a question. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, sir. Dr. Karreman, thank you for your testimony. A lot of what you said confirms any research that I've done, but then you went an extra mile, so thank you. So what other dairy products that are made from raw milk benefit people?
One would be butter. I think I mentioned that in passing, but butter as part of a ketogenic diet has been actually used by human doctors against epilepsy since the late 1800s. And there's some reports in the peer-reviewed literature in veterinary medicine how it's been being used in idiopathic epilepsy in dogs now. It replaces the carbohydrates, and the brain uses it quite well. It's also really good in diets that, for diabetes because of that. And so the fat of the butter replaces the carbohydrate energy, which diabetes succumbs to.
Interesting. Also, I've come up with some mention of TB and brucella. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right. Among the Louisiana dairy cattle herd, what's the status of that? Should I be worried about it?
TB has been, there was a letter, well, TB and brucella, this is TB and brucella free state. All states are free of TB. There's just a handful that might have some brucella in Wyoming and where the bison are out there. But this is a TB and a brucella-free state, so that's already been declared in 9 CFR 77.7 back in 2000. And 2007 was for TB. All states were clear except a little of that I mentioned.
Okay. Now, if I get some raw milk, if I take that home and heat that up, say to the boiling point, two questions. Have I then killed off any potentially harmful bacteria that might be there? And have I ruined the best of the health effects that I would have gotten otherwise?
So if you boil the milk, you would kill any bad bugs that might be in there. You've also ruined the good nutritional aspects of it. Pasteurization, just to say, it does not always kill all the bad bugs as everyone thinks it does. So yes, if you boiled the milk, you would basically be sterilizing the milk. Yeah.
But I would also be ruining the health benefits that I would be getting from drinking raw milk as opposed to pasteurized.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank